Hi, Jasmine. This is Amy. I'm not exactly sure how the volume level is on this, but if it's too soft, turn it up. If it's too loud, I'm sorry. I'm working on a session right now, and I was going to do this with you anyways today. Um, this family, I'm just going to dive right in here for you because I feel like you're probably seasoned enough to understand this. Um, I I did this session for this family. They insisted to do it at the beach, like at 2:30 in the afternoon, which is horrible light. So you can see that like it's just I mean it was almost impossible to not like blow out the highlights. I don't know if you know what that means, but like overexpose just to be able to see my subject. So the color and stuff was really hard. And then the beach as a whole, the area that they picked was a spot that that the cars can drive on. So it left all these amazing tracks, and the beach was really crowded. So I wanted to use this today because I know that you edit in Lightroom and I edit in Adobe Camera Raw, which quite honestly is the same thing as Lightroom. And I'll show you eventually and you'll see. But it's really important, I think, as a photographer to learn how to just, if you learn anything at all in Photoshop, it's how to clean up your photos because that's what's going to set you apart from the other ones that just, the other photographers that just refuse to come into Photoshop because they're scared of it. So that's what I'm going to show you today. I'm trying to work on this little one's skin color and stuff like that, but I think I've got it about as good as it's going to get. It's not, it doesn't make me super happy. It's a little over pink. Her hair's kind of yellow, which I'm going to try to, you don't have to know what I'm doing right now, but there's so many tools in Photoshop that can help you. What I'm doing right now is I'm just trying to get the orange out of her hair. So my goal is to, I know we only have a half a year left, but my goal is to make you really good at using Photoshop. So just so you can see the difference, her hair was super orange, which is not the color of her hair. It was just the sun. And so using a saturation adjustment, I was able to fix it on just that part of her head. I think I'm going to fix and like put it back on her skin though a little bit. So that's what Photoshop is good for, being able to like in Lightroom, you can only use an adjustment brush for so many things. In Photoshop, you can use masks, which is just like creating an adjustment brush layer um, to do all sorts of things. So, anyways, but what I'm going to show you today is just cleanup. And I'm not going to go crazy here, but I just want to show you how simple this one little tool is in Photoshop. So say you've got spots of things that you want to get rid of and you pull your photo into Photoshop from Lightroom. There is this magical tool called the Spot Healing Brush. And it has a shortcut key of J. So if you're on a Mac, that is Command J. And if you're on a PC, it's Control J. Or just actually, I think in Photoshop, you could just hit J and it might come up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in super close just to make sure she has a little spit up on her lip. And you might be asking yourself, oops, do you do this every single session? Yes, I do. It is time consuming, but again, it's what's going to set your photos apart from other people because there's other fun things that you can do in Photoshop, like pretend suns and stuff like that. I was trying to get that bit of slobber off, but it's not going to work. So we'll just but as you can see, the spot healing brush tool can work really well. Like I just dabbed it on right there and it dotted that off. But then doing it, and then it worked down there. It wasn't working before. For some reason, getting closer into your subject too will let you access it better. It'll work better or something. So I'm just changing my brush size. Your brush size can be changed up here or you can use your bracket keys on your keyboard. They're right next to the letter P, and they make your brush size go up and down. So in teaching you Photoshop, I'm going to teach you all the shortcut keys because it's going to save you time. So now I'm just clicking this circle size on the spots that I would like to, now watch what happens if I get too close to the blanket. Actually, that doesn't look bad, but sometimes it can mess up, like it'll make a blank spot on someone's shirt or something like that. You could also draw with it for a bigger space instead of just clicks. And sometimes it doesn't work. If it doesn't work, you have a command which I use is just Control Z to undo. So on the Mac, it'd be Command Z. So if something doesn't work, just hit Command Z and it takes it away. It's an undo, or you can go under Edit and do that. So this is just the tool I wanted to show you today. There is another tool called the Patch tool that is workable too sometimes if you want to grab a big section of something. If you drag it over to a section that looks a little better, it's going to show you in the highlighted area what it's going to look like when I let go. So it kind of got rid of that too. So that's a little bit better than where we were at before. I'm going to move on to the next photo. I'm just going to zoom in on her skin a little bit. It just looks a little rough for my taste. There are some people over here, but it doesn't look like people, so I'm just going to leave it. You don't want to, so I do go through every photo, but do I edit every single photo? No, because that would take me forever. There's also a plugin called Portraiture that it's a one-touch button that you can set up in Photoshop that softens the skin. It is a little bit of an investment, but it's very much worth it as far as skin softening. And actually, I believe it comes in a plugin for Lightroom directly now. So you can see the difference in skin. Now, is a little too soft for me, so what I did right there is this is a layer. It puts it on a new layer. So it just keeps my background photo the same in case I don't like it for some reason. And I'm just adjusting how hard it applies, and that's called the opacity. So I am done with that photo. And then this one will be another good example. You can see she's got a scratch on her face. Sometimes when you have your exposure just right, it hides some of these blemishes, but she was, in a shadow here and that didn't work. So we're just going to use the spot healing brush again. That's way too big. If I click it, it's going to get all distorted. Just wanted to show you how that worked. So I'm going to make it small because this spot is small. And I'm just kind of drawing around there to get it. Now, one thing that this spot healing brush doesn't work well on is hair. The hair is probably the hardest thing to adjust in Photoshop. Now, this person kind of is standing out a little bit more to me, so I just clicked on that. I'm going to run that portraiture again. And it just takes a second. What I generally do is go through and edit all my pictures, and then this is something else I'll teach you later. I have what's called a batch process set up that I just run the portraiture application on every photo. So that's something that you could do later. I don't like that her nose is a little bit pink. Again, you don't have to pay attention to this, but you don't have to learn this. It's not what the goal is today, but I'm going to go into my reds in this saturation tool, and I'm going to play with them until they're a little bit more yellow. So again, that just helped her skin tone quite a lot there. So this is probably pretty boring, but I just want you, this little healing brush tool is just a lifesaver for stuff like this. This little spittle string. And I want to point out, you might be saying, well, gosh, unless you zoom in, half that stuff doesn't really show up. Well, when your customer orders like a 20 by 30 print of an image, they're going to see it and they're going to be mad that it's there. So just like I'm zooming in, when a print is blown up, you obviously can see so much more of the detail in the image. And so it is important to zoom in and check on those things. Now I feel like her skin is super white right here. So I am going to use what's called a color balance, and I'm just doing this so you can start to see kind of the things that Photoshop can do that Lightroom can't. I mean, there are ways to do it, but in Photoshop, it lets you be more, have the ability more to mask it on and off or put it on and off as opposed to just put it on and that's all you can do. So again, just fixing that skin tone a little bit. This one I super love, but I want to make it more creative, and this is something I just kind of wanted to show you today. I wish his diaper wasn't showing, and I could technically work on it and get it off, but some photos like that, what you want to do is leave it. And then if the family comes back with their collection and says, hey, I really love that image. Can you adjust this? Can you get this off? Then you can be like, yes. Um, just sometimes you just don't know if families are going to love certain images or not. The same thing is true for me when I'm doing senior portraits. I give them a whole bunch of senior photos, and then I'll tell them, go ahead and favorite the ones that you like, and I'll do the heavy retouching on those because some people have, struggle with bad acne, and for their senior pictures, you want to make sure they're really good. So, but you don't want to edit pictures and spend time doing that because it's very time consuming. Editing acne is very time consuming. Um, unless you know they're going to love that picture. So that's why I have them do that. But right now, I just want to put some an extra sunburst right here and just see if it would kind of make that a more magical picture. So I have all these suns, and I think I put them in your Dropbox folder because I was going to show you later how to use them. There's all kinds of light effects. Now, my number one rule is to not put sun where sun was not. So we know there is sun right there because we see it. So I'm just modifying it a little bit. I'm just going to drag that picture over here. And then Photoshop has what's called blending modes. And once I put this blending mode to what's called hard light, it like makes the background part disappear. Now, obviously, this is a little crazy, but I like it. I'm just going to make it a little smaller. I'm also going to change the color. And this, I'm not going to really explain what I'm doing. You can just kind of watch it just because it's a little overwhelming. So just whoop, there. So now we have a sun that looks real. And I'm just going to show you an example. I don't mean to be mean to certain photographers. This lady is my friend, but she really like puts fake clouds and fake sun in where it was not already. And that I just want to show you the difference when you try to do that. She's done photography for years. Sometimes she tinkers in Photoshop, sometimes she doesn't, and sometimes when she's in Photoshop, she goes overboard. Here's an example. This sky is all fake, and the sun, you can tell by looking at the picture, wasn't even out. I mean, if the sun is out, there's going to be directional lighting. If the sun was behind those trees and this truck, this would all have highlights on it. So just again, and here's like another really strange addition of sun. So you just want to make sure that you put sun where it was already. So all I did was put that in there to add some rays to make that kind of more fun. So, and then sometimes you'll get the fun things that just come naturally. Thankfully, I don't think there's anything I need to do with that. This is silly, but this one little rock blob just bugs me. So I'm going to just kind of get rid of some of those. I wish I could take the time to get rid of all these tire tracks, but this was a mini session. And that's something else that you need to consider if it's a mini session. And you may want to put in your wording at some point or in your contract, that you're going to be doing baseline editing and not a ton of retouching. I'm still just using this spot healing tool. Forgive me for any background noise. It's like landscaping day. All right, I shut my front door so there wouldn't be as much background noise. Okay, sorry for the distractions. I got my kiddo at home. This is another one where I'm gonna put in that same sun. So, sorry, sometimes this software doesn't like to work with everything. As I'm going through each image in Photoshop, I'm doing the retouching and I'm doing like adding any additional fun things. So that was there. And I'm going to reduce its color. Like I don't want it to be a yellow. And this time I don't like how like sharp the rays are. So we can put what's called a blur on, and you can do so many fun things with blur in Photoshop. So see, that just looks a bit more natural. See there, it's for real. I was hoping to show you some editing out some people, but we got really lucky there. I'm going to go ahead on that last image. Oops. Well, where did it go? That one. I'm going to run that skin portraiture just to give Grandma some confidence. The shadow was really pretty harsh on her wrinkles. Also, I'm seeing that her strap is showing here, and I don't know if that's an extra tank or if it's a bra, and so I'm going to just leave it alone for now. I could clone it out, and cloning is a whole nother type of tool. But I'm not going to unless they ask. Again, sometimes it's okay to wait till they ask. So what I did is I ran this tool and then I only applied it to her skin. I'm also going to add some light in there. I'm telling you, Photoshop is just really, it just changes the game. Because I was able to make her skin look so much better just in those few brush strokes. So now I'm going to save them. So all of these photos, you can see the list here. These are all open. I just went through and I've cleaned them all up and added some fun things like the sun. Now I go to File, Scripts, and Image Processor, and I just make sure that the same location that I have the photos in is what's selected and that it's at the highest possible quality, which is 12. And I hit run and it saves all my changes at one time. And so this is an opportunity where it's saving this, like you could go through other sessions, like, you know, because you have to cull through and pick out the pictures and things like that. So I'm going to end this video and then I'll make another one, probably maybe today, but it'll show you how I get started in Camera Raw, which, like I said, it looks just like Lightroom. So if you know Lightroom, you'll know what I'm doing. It's not going to confuse you. But yeah, that's how you can clean up your photos. In fact, I'll just wait real quick now that these are all saved. I'm going to pull up one with people on the beach because this tool works unbelievably well on the beach where there's people. I don't know why, but it does. Okay, so I'll pull this one up. So, oops, wrong thing. Selecting my spot healing brush. Just going to get rid of this little spot here. Now watch this. This is a person. Doink. That's their reflection. So that's the one thing about if they're near the water, you got to get out both. Now watch this. There we go. Nobody's on the beach with them. So, spot healing brush. If you do nothing else in Photoshop, that can clean up acne, scratches, boogies on babies, and people on the beach. So yeah, I know this was long, but hopefully that's helpful.